Crack a beer and welcome to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC Vegas 87. We have Shamil Gaziev versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We're going to talk three plays here like we always do on the show. And listen, we're coming off another profitable evening for clients. Last weekend picked up 7.12 units. A great night again overall. Hit on our top play, which was Manuel Torres. Goes out there, gets that first round, easy peasy submission, 4-unit play therefore. So I think we'll drink to that. And at this point right now, over the last 16 UFC events, I've cashed 12 of them with my clients. We're on a run, 5-0 right now. So feeling good, seeing the board really, really well. And I know that you're, a lot of people and talking on Twitter, and some people do shows and prediction shows, and all those things are, complaining about this card. Oh, this card's not that good, or this card, the headliner sucks, or whatever it is. That's, to me, I don't really give a shit about that. I'm not here for entertainment. Sure, UFC 299, awesome card. UFC 300, great cards, stack cards, fun cards. But for me, I don't really give a shit as much about entertainment than I do looking for strong betting opportunities. This weekend is no different. And as long as there's fights for UFC on, we're going to find strong positions to place our money. So that's what we're going to be doing this weekend here. So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. Right now, I do have a play up for this weekend. I also have a max bet up for UFC 299 already there, already set up. A nice pick 'em straight bet that I do like. So really all over that and excited about it. So take a look there. And with that being said, I think we should just get into this main event, get into the card, and start talking some UFC 87, UFC Vegas 87. Also, if you want to get your free $100 over at Underdog Fantasy Sports, link down in the description. Use promo code Mr. UFC, and they'll hook you up. Let's get a beer here. And I think it's time to talk about the main event of the evening here between Shamil Gaziev and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, you got Gaziev here. He's minus 165. On the comeback here, we've got Rozenstruik plus 140. Looks like these lines are starting to widen a little bit here. And you got Gaziev here, undefeated, 12-0, big power, and does have some wrestling. On the other side here, you've got Rozenstruik, who powerful kickboxer and does have some nice counter striking ability. Now, it is a little strange. I will agree that it is a little strange that this is Gaziev getting a main event opportunity here. The guy 2 fights ago was fighting at Dana White's Contender Series, beats a bum there. Congratulations. Then he goes up and fights, who is it there? Martin Buday. Fat slob, heavyweight, don't really think too very highly of him. He goes out there and finishes him in the second round. So, it looks nice having a 12-0 guy on the main event. I don't, maybe UFC's trying to build him, which could be a possibility here that they're looking to build him, but we'll kind of break that down and see where we go here. So stylistically speaking overall here with Gaziev, the guy is going to push forward. He's going to throw big shots. He's going to be very aggressive, and he's going to throw big hammers when he's coming at you. And that's kind of been the thing that's kind of worked for him. He can go forward. He can wilt guys. Guys can't take his power. They'll crumble, or he'll look to kind of utilize some of the wrestling and find a way that way. Now, there is an opportunity, for him to kind of utilize that in this fight against Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik is a guy who does like a little bit of space. He likes to use his kickboxing, likes to use a little bit of range. He does have power as well, too, in the pocket. I think he can mix it up a little bit there, but the cutting the distance is where Gaziev is going to find a lot of success. And I think that first round is going to really be where he's going to find a lot of that. Pushing forward, throwing shots, keeping him up against the fence, unloading those big shots. And the other part about it that does hurt Jairzinho is he's a low volume. At times he can be low volume. At times he can really be very, 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 very patient, waiting for that kind of that perfect shot to throw that counter. And, doesn't always materialize that way, and sometimes he's too patient. Sometimes he doesn't throw at the right time. And I think he kind of gets thrown off a little bit in certain spots. Of course, now you got, guys who wrestle against him. Those kinds of things can make him more hesitant, more timid in the pocket. All of those things are a possibility. And, if he does that, Gaziev can get him up against the fence, or he can look for those takedowns and truly dictate the pace of this fight if that's really kind of how it goes. And Jairzinho kind of allows him to kind of dictate that pace. Now, on the other side of things here, there are a lot of issues with Gaziev. Now, there's some good things, but there are some fucking bad things, man. And the first thing is he's got terrible striking defense. Now, he has not been paying for that, when guys are fighting him and having the opportunity to kind of counter or take advantage of some of the where his hands are placed, or kind of bringing it back up and kind of controlling the guard when he's standing and blocking some of those shots. So there is that there, but also the fact that I think that his striking defense it has holes in it, is his actual striking, I think, is pretty fucking sloppy. I don't think it's that good. He does have power, there's no doubt, and he does have this willingness to throw in the pocket, stand, throw big shots, but it's kind of where he throws the punches from. He kind of throws them with his hands out or really from the hip, and he throws them very low, and he's kind of just willing to just kind of melt you with just a big abundance of power. And yes, again, that can work. And he can catch a guy cold and push forward. But that, to me, really is not the greatest, stylistic matchup when you're talking about a guy in Jairzinho who does have some kickboxing, who probably overall, if you're just talking a pure striking match, which of course this is not, Rozenstruik's a better striker, flat out. Easy. I don't even think there's even should be a debate on who's the better striker between these two guys. I think Jairzinho has a big advantage of that. I think he's a better technical striker. I think he mixes it up a little bit better. He can throw some kicks, throw some strikes. So I think he just mixes it up where you're going to have really the advantage for Gaziev is just the bulldozing forward and throwing the big shots. Now, the other part of it, when you're kind of looking at all this as well, is the fact that Gaziev also doesn't have the best cardio. So you add in that he doesn't really, he can be very defensively irresponsible, doesn't really throw the cleanest strikes overall. And then he's shown just a terrible cardio, and he has not had to go far. So it's not that he has, I think over his, over the, what has he had? He's been to the second round 3 times in his career out of the 12 fights. So he has not had to go there. Of course, Pedro, I'm not Pedro. Jairzinho, he's the kind of guy that's willing to trade, willing to throw in the pocket and do those kinds of things. So if he doesn't get him out early, Gaziev, I think that it could start to tilt the other way absolutely big time. Now, I don't think this is going to go 5 rounds. I'm pretty sure this ain't going 5 rounds, but this is a 5-round fight. And if Rozenstruik can kind of dictate the pace a little bit, steer clear of some danger in that first round, be very defensive. I think that's the key for Rozenstruik. Be defensive, be aware of what's coming at him, and then take your time, and then allow this fight. We've seen him tick down. We've definitely seen, even with Budai, he was throwing a lot of shots. He was some big power, but it looked like if he didn't put Budai out, he was getting tired. I mean, this was second round. He looked like exhausted, but he was able to finish the fight against Budai. Now, this is going to be his first round fight. I don't think it's going there, but again, if he can dictate the pace, he can kind of get this fight to go a little bit further. And then lastly is the strength of schedule here, and it's heavily going to favor Rozenstruik in this spot. Absolutely, I get it. Gaziev is new, so he's not going to obviously face the high level talent. But the only guys, over the last few years that really you've seen, Rozenstruik lose to is like Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades, and Gerald Almeida, who is a terrible stylistic matchup for him. 100%. It's just a bad matchup overall. And then the other one was Francis Ngannou. I mean, so these are high-level guys that are beating him. He's not losing to some bums. He's beating the guys that he really should be beating, knocking those guys out and finishing them. But again, it's a stylistic kind of situation. Then you look at it also, while this was all going on and he's facing Francis Ngannou and these guys, you have Gaziev, who was fighting in Pro FC and Brave CF. So he was fighting very low-level guys overall. And the last part I'll say is, Gaziev is, came into the Dana White Contender Series in his early 30s. So this isn't a guy that, has really kind of blossomed and he's this young up and comer. He's 34 years old, and you got on the other side, you've got Rozenstruik, who's 35 years old. So I do like the value here on Rozenstruik. And I know that a lot of people have really been talking about Gaziev here, but I think that the just the experience, the striking. If this gets out of the first round, I really think this highly favors Rozenstruik overall. I think he can dictate the pace a little bit. I don't even think that we're going to see much wrestling here. I mean, maybe Gaziev can, but I don't think he wrestles because I don't think he can fuel the takedowns. I don't think he can keep doing that. I think he's just more comfortable. I'm going guns blazing, and I think I can finish the guy. And if that's the case, Rozenstruik, who is a counter striker, I think can land something there. So at the plus money here right now, I'm taking Jairzinho Rozenstruik here, plus 140 as my free play in the main event. Now, the next one here, we're talking about Victor Patrino. He's minus 330. On the comeback, you've got Tyson Pedro plus 250. All righty. Get this over here. All right. So we've got Patrino here. He's 10-0. Big guy, strong, does have KO ability. On the other side here, you've got Tyson Pedro, well-rounded fighter, and does have high-level jiu-jitsu. So there's no doubt about it here that Patrino, he's going to have advantages. He's going to have advantages, and it's going to be strength. He's going to have the power in his hands advantage, and he's going to have that pure just physicality over Tyson Pedro. He's a big, strong guy. We've seen him. He's going to go forward, and that's the thing where it's going to be a car crash early, I have a feeling, but you're going to have Patrino crash in the pocket. I think he's going to look to throw the big shots. He's going to look to trade. He's a kind of guy that absolutely believes in his striking, believes in his, well, more striking, believes in his power, and believes that if he moves forward and throws the big shots, he's going to land the one that's going to hurt you, and he's going to find opportunity. He went out there, knocked out in Dana White Contender Series, Rodolfo Bellato, Modestus Pahalgas, he knocked out recently as well, too. And then also even the Marcin Prachnio fight. I thought he looked very good. Prachnio, would throw a couple shots, and he would take some back, and it looked like, Prachnio just did not absorb them well. He did not like it at all. And then you ended up getting Prachnio to the floor, gets a submission in the third round, and it shows again that he's just not a power striker. He's adding in some wrestling. He's adding in some things to his overall skill set. He's an explosive guy. There's no doubt about it. He's very explosive, very athletic. And even with the takedowns, the guy can lift guys up and body slam them for takedowns. He's a big, big, strong guy. Now, on the other side here for Tyson Pedro, 10-4 in his career. The interesting part here is that he has 10 victories in the first round. I mean, the guy, if he wins, it's got to be in the first round basically for him. 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. He definitely is a well-rounded type of guy. Now, it almost as if if you don't get it finish in that first round, does his motivation go down? Does his cardio decline, which is something that is definitely suspect as well too. But I think also if you look at, over the last few fights, he's 3-1 over his last few fights, over his last 4 fights, had some knockouts, of course, all of them being in the first round. And the loss to Modestus Pahalgas for him, I think is kind of pushing this line a little wider than it should be. And, you just saw Patrino, handle Modestus very easily, knocking him out. And then he goes and Tyson Pedro fights him and has a competitive fight, didn't look good, and loses. Now the difference here for me really is the fact that he was sick. So that's a given, that's a factual thing, that Tyson Pedro was not 100% against Modestus. He did not look good. You could tell he did not look good even during that fight, and he loses. Next fight, he faces Anton Chikali, and it was, I forget the line, but I think it was somewhat close. And as a client play, we bet Pedro in that spot. He gets that first round knockout, and it's almost as if now people are kind of wiki capping it and saying, oh, this guy beat this guy and this guy beat it. I think this is a spot where it's a little bit too wide for me, because I think that the recency bias of what we've seen him do, I think, is a little bit off when you're overall looking at it. And there are some issues here that I do believe that Patrino does have, and it's definitely, he has the power. He's got the nuclear option. He can land the bomb, but you also got to remember that Tyson Pedro can throw. Tyson Pedro throws hammers as well, too. This is a light heavyweight division, and both these guys can throw big shots, big game-changing shots. We've seen it. We've even seen it, and we've also seen, Anton Chikali take some of these big shots from Patrino, which he was landing, but taking them and going to the decision, while Pedro put him away in the first round. So there are some definite, if you start doing that kind of shit, it's kind of a back and forth situation. But overall, if you're looking at stylistically, Pedro is the better striker. You know, he is. He's just going to have the cleaner strikes. He's going to have the quicker developing combinations. I think he's going to have the faster hands as well too. And Patrino is a kind of guy that's, you know, again, will have the power, but these big hooks, these big rangy wide hooks, I think are opportunities for somebody like Pedro to land something nice, to land a counter, to kind of move, utilize some footwork. I think that's going to help him in certain spots there. And, you know, and just overall, technically speaking, striking, Pedro's better. You know, I don't even think it's at this point of where both of these guys are, Pedro is the better striker. Now, again, there's issues where we're talking about cardio, because I do believe Patrino, for a guy of his size, really does keep some good cardio going and keeps that gas tank going, even when he does have some long, 3-round wrestling matches. He's kept it. So that actually is impressive. And that's going to be something where Tyson Pedro could be lacking if he doesn't have the cardio or those kinds of things, because really over his career, we really just haven't seen it. But again, I think that the speed advantage will be there too. So you also kind of look at it as, now, if it's on the feet and it could be somewhat competitive, could Patrino take him down? I think that's an option. I think that could be there. I think that's a possibility that could be there. But you also got to remember that Tyson Pedro is a grappler. I mean, I know that may sound as, surprise to some people, but, he has gone out there and he's knocking these guys out and finishing them and looks great. But he's really that's really how he came into the UFC, as a grappler, high level. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got some great, ability down there. So if this goes to the ground and Patrino looks for a takedown, yes, he's got the wrestling. Yes, Patrino's got the strength and could get him down. But when we're talking about pure grappling and jiu-jitsu, it's going to be on Tyson Pedro's side. Absolutely. So you've got a guy in Pedro who should be the better striker standing. I keep doing this because I think my camera's fucking up. He should be the better guy grappling. I'm sorry, he should be the better guy striking, as in just pure striking ability. And then you looked at, he probably is the better grappler between these two. But again, the big advantages for Vitor is really his strength, is really his power. Those are the things that he will have over, and plus the cardio as well too. So when you look at this here, I think there's options and there's paths, multiple paths for Pedro to win. Of course, listen, there's no doubt Patrino could put, Pedro's, head into the rafters in the first round. And that is a possibility. That is a very, very possibility of an outcome. But I think of this line, we're talking plus 250 and climbing. We could get this, this could possibly be, when the fight goes off, plus 300. The money's going to come in on Patrino. I like Pedro here already at plus 250. I think the line is good on him taking the plus money here. I think this is dog or pass spot. So I do like Tyson Pedro to get the job done, plus 250. And then quickly, the last one I will just say, because I've rambled a lot in the show today. Hold on. Is going to be Umar Nurmagomedov versus wait, how do you say this guy's name? Bekzat Al-Makan. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his goddamn name. But in this spot here, it's short notice for Bekzat. He's coming in, but he actually is a good fighter. There's no doubt he's actually a pretty solid fighter overall. I do think this could be a spot where he gets smoked against Umar, and then you get really good value on him in the next fight because he's going to get smoked here. And that's where I think this is going here, just to give the play out. Is Umar's going to win? That's it. No, Umar's going to win, but I do believe this is a fight that's going to end inside the distance. And I think getting a good number here, and it's on FanDuel right now, I think it's a good spot, will fight go the distance? No, is at minus 148. I think that is a very high probability. I do believe that Bekzat can probably, scramble a little bit and kind of find opportunities, but we're going to be in the apex cage. I think Umar is going to get the control. He's going to push the volume out and find the takedown, find the back or find a limb and get that finish. I think early, maybe second round. And I think the total is minus 1.5. I just think fight won't go the distance, and I like the number here. So I think that he's going to go out there, get the control time early in the first round, do it again in the second, and find that finish. So giving this one out real quick without the bullshit, we're taking, will the fight go the distance? No, at minus 148. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 87. If you want to become a client, link down in the description, as well as Underdog Fantasy. You want to be part of that? That's down there too as well. We are rocking and rolling, ripping through this, and we're going to keep this train going here. We're going to go 6-0 on this event coming up this Saturday. So let's cash. See you next week.